I always wanted to become a pilot, and I would very many times rehearse that this is your captain, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome. Welcome to KQ 5443. We'll be cruising to Karlsruhe in Germany. Our cruising altitude at 4,000 feet above sea level. So for me to really value myself, then I have to have the correct perspective of myself. I have to really have the right identity. And if that is true, we cannot find that anywhere else other than from the one who made us. Right or wrong?
Right. Everything begins with the creator.
He's the one who made me, so he's the one who knows what I'm made of, what I'm capable of, and so on and so forth. So we cannot run away from that. To find my true identity, I have to have a relationship with my maker. And that's where we begin. Once we lay that foundation right, then it becomes much easier for me to really understand who I am.
You decided today to give my slot to my videographer.
Maybe today was the day to acknowledge the behind the scenes guys, but thank you, Derrick. You see Denver and Derrick, it's easy to mix them up.
It's just that he's a city.
There will be many people trying to define me by my strengths. That's at least on the positive side. But also many will define you by your failures and your weaknesses, which is part of life. We fail as we try to do certain things, which is not bad. It's part of learning. It's painful, it's difficult, but it's part of growing up and learning.
Or usually it's something that we can't run away from.
Yes.
The society will always give you an identity.
To be honest, it's got to be an inside-out thing. It's for you to have the strength to overcome external forces, like what people are saying to you, saying about you. You've got to have inner strength.
Yeah.
And that inner strength, again, can only be drawn from what you're feeding on.
Hello guys, and welcome back. It's been a while since we did this, but it's good to take a break, go and refresh yourself and come back. Welcome back, and this is the King's Lounge right here in the Sphere Arena. My name is Mwavali Derrick, and today I'm joined by one, I can say the wisest person I know right now. And the conversation of today, I'm very sure he's the right person to talk about it. We're going to talk about instilling self-worth and goals. We are usually told that you need to know your worth when you're growing up, and also we're usually told that you need to have goals in life. When the year begins, we usually set that this is my New Year's resolution, but how far do we go in achieving these goals, and how far do we go in putting things in place to ensure that our dignity and also us getting to where we want to be is achieved? But before I get into this conversation, first of all, allow me to pay some bills before I'm assassinated on my way back home. So I want to appreciate Eastside Creatives, that's Denver, and where is Susa for shooting this video and editing it. And I also want to appreciate the creative space, that's Dehan Hesbon, for directing this script and creating the thumbnails and great graphics that you see. And my guest, tutamtangu kwa mwisho. So welcome to the King's Lounge.
Thank you, Denver.
You decided today to give my slot to my videographer.
Maybe today was the day to acknowledge the behind the scenes guys, but thank you, Derrick. You see Denver and Derrick, it's easy to mix them up.
It's just that he's a city.
Oh, Denver in the US, yeah.
And I'm a machine. I mine oil.
Is Derrick is a machine?
That mines oil in Nigeria.
I didn't know. Dangote. I know Dangote, the multi-billionaire or trillionaire. I know he's the wealthiest in Africa.
Yeah, the Dangote family. Now, first of all, before we get into today's conversation,
yes,
introduce yourself. You know, when I first knew you, it was through the church sermon, and wisdom. Now, before even you start talking about this topic, introduce yourself to my audience.
Right, my name is Alexander Muthanga. Professionally, I'm a lecturer for German studies and German as a foreign language at Pwani University, the Department of Languages, Linguistics and Literature. I'm also a member of Bible Way Ministry Kilifi, where I think we met with Derrick here, as much as he's also a student at Pwani. I think I met him here first before we met at Mwavali University. So here I serve in the children's ministry. I teach the toddlers, 4 to 6 year olds. Sometimes we get younger than 4, but that's the age group I teach. I'm married to Susan Muthanga. We are blessed with 3 beautiful children, and I think the most important part of my identity is my relationship with Jesus Christ. I am born again, and He has done wonderful things in my life.
Wow. You know, niko pale kwa I'm married to, you know, someone asked me a question. Why is it that you campus students usually feel like you should take care of someone you're not married to? But then let's begin from there. Campus relationships, you are in campus. You interact with these students.
Yes.
And since you're talking about instilling self-worth goals, sometimes young people get lost in their worth. They don't know our worth.
Yes.
How do you balance all this as a young person?
To be honest, I think when I read the topic, instilling self-worth and goals, I couldn't help but think about the foundation. Because for you to value yourself for who you truly are, then you must have the correct identity. And I know identity is a big thing in teenage and young adulthood and going on. And sometimes, even as adults, we really never get to know who we truly are and value ourselves for who we truly are. It's not automatic, it's not natural. You have to get the right input in terms of knowledge, in terms of understanding, for you to really understand who you are and therefore value yourself for who you are. And if we are to then draw one step back from self-worth and look into identity. Sorry, I've gone very far from the issue of campus relationships. But we have to lay the foundation for that to really make sense. So for me to really value myself, then I have to have the correct perspective of myself. I have to really have the right identity. And if that is true, we cannot find that anywhere else other than from the one who made us. Right or wrong?
Right. Everything begins with the Creator.
He's the one who made me, so He's the one who knows what I'm made of, what I'm capable of, and so on and so forth. So we cannot run away from that. To find my true identity, I have to have a relationship with my Maker. And that's where we begin. Once we lay that foundation right, then it becomes much easier for me to really understand who I am. There will be many people trying to define me by my strengths. That's at least on the positive side. But also many will define you by your failures and your weaknesses, which is part of life. We fail as we try to do certain things, which is not bad. It's part of learning. It's painful, it's difficult, but it's part of growing up and learning. Some will define you by what you're not capable of, or how you look like, or the background you came from in terms of family, wealth, name of the family, reputation of the family, and so on and so forth. But for you to really find who you are and what you can do, then you go back to the source, and the source is God. And practically, what does that mean? Having a relationship with Jesus Christ and seeking Him, reading scriptures. That's what God gave us as a way of understanding Him and knowing Him. And through that, you then really grow in understanding who you are from God's perspective. And that now builds into the worth that you know that you have or that you are.
Now, you have talked of someone giving you, or usually it's something that you can't run away from.
Yes.
The society will always give you an identity.
Yes.
And let me just use the example of young people, because mostly in the current generation, the young people are battling the battle of identity. We are given our identities depending on how we dress, how we have our hair stepped, and even how we interact and talk to people. And at some point, the identity given to you may make you like have a low self-esteem. And this has made to so many people living in isolation. They don't want to get out because When you sit with someone, he'll judge you. How does a person now, despite the negative critics, still wake up and just face the world? Like, you know, to some it's easy. Like to us it might be easy. I'm used to maybe meditation. It might be easy. But now what about that person? What are some of the things that he can do so that even if he walks around or even if he interacts with people, despite the negative criticism, he still has that drive in him to move on?
To be honest, it's got to be an inside-out thing. It's for you to have the strength to overcome external forces, like what people are saying to you, saying about you. You've got to have inner strength. Yeah. And that inner strength, again, can only be drawn from what you're feeding on. Our bodies, we strengthen them or weaken them by what we feed them with physical food.
Yeah.
But we are not just physical. We are also, we have a spirit, soul, and body. So the soul, which constitutes of the mind, the will, and the emotions, and also very neatly intertwined with our spirit, is fed by what we are listening to, what we are watching, things that we are feeding into our minds that also affect our emotions, that also affect what we want to do and not want to do. Yeah. And then now, what you're feeding yourself on then will be what will determine how strong you are on your inside to be able to be resilient or be firm on your stand despite what the force from outside may be saying to you, the contrary maybe to what would be right. Yeah. So I would say you have to have plugged in to a good source of inner nutrients.
You have, I can say you have exceeded nearly 3 decades on this earth. There are those lessons you have picked when moving. Yes. And also, you said you are a lecturer of German. And I'm very sure you have traveled this world. Now I want you to lead us through this conversation, how you as a person managed to instill some goals in you, some self-worth. They usually tell you, if you don't, you should always know your worth. You might be worth 1 million, but someone, since you don't know your worth, may treat you as 100,000.
True.
So, as a person, which are some of the steps? What are some of the decisions? And even when you fell in a pit, how did you get yourself up? Ensure that yes, these are the goals that I want to achieve. Like,
wow, that's a tough one, because to be honest, I can be very detailed in my narratives, and I don't know how much time you want me to take in explaining. So tell me how much.
Just,
in a nutshell.
Just make in a nutshell of it.
All right. So I thank God for the far I have come. Like you said, it's by His grace that I am who I am today. And when I say that, I mean it, because I have made serious mistakes that would have threatened my being who I am and where I am today. But God, by His grace and mercy, He helped me to rise up, like you said, from mistakes that I made. I may not go into details, but just trying to summarize that, like you want me to summarize my 4 decades in a nutshell. That's one of the hardest exams you can give me, but I'll try. So in my primary school, I remember I struggled with identity. I felt sometimes like I had to lie about what we have and where I come from to be valued more. The change and the turn came when I really got to begin to walk with God closely, just like I said, because I began to define myself not from external things, who my parents are, whether we have a car or not, because those were the things I would struggle with. So sometimes I would find myself lying in our house. We have a bathtub, so that at least I would feel like I also have some standing, and therefore I'll be valued more. So I began to really reconcile with who I truly was, and just accepting myself, loving myself the way I was, and really finding value in me through my relationship with Jesus Christ. For me, there is no other way. And that's because I can remember the point in time when I really accepted myself and just began wanting to know what it is that God has put in me, who I truly am, what I can, what I cannot do, and so on. It was around secondary school, Form 2, 3, 4, and the remarkable turning point was when I made up my mind to have a serious relationship with Jesus Christ. So that was the beginning point of really beginning to accept myself and value myself, and therefore begin to see worth in me. Then the journey began that way. It built up as I began to also see the talents that God had put in me, the gifts, the abilities. And God makes no junk. Nobody should ever be convinced that they have no talent, no gift. Actually, there's a reliable source I cannot give a direct reference right now. But I remember in one of the trainings we were told an average human being has at least 500 abilities. It's hard to believe, but it's true. 500. That's average. Those are not the above average. Those are the average.
Wait,
if whatever average means. Yeah?
Abilities like singing, dancing, 500 in one.
Yeah, 500. So it may boil down to things like organizational skills, like communication skills, like interpersonal, being very good at interpersonal relationships and just dealing with people. Mm-hmm. So it may not be just the acting and singing and comedy, the big things that we know, but even very small refined skills and abilities, but which matter. Okay, so we are all loaded. We are all thoroughly loaded with abilities and gifts and talents and skills that God put in us when He knit us together in our mother's wombs. And that's why I'm saying then we cannot really claim to be able to discover who we are and what we can do apart from the one who made us. The best person who can teach you how to operate a TV is the one who made it. Imagine the person who came up with the concept, leave alone the manufacturers who maybe took designs and patterns and just put up the things, but really don't understand the functioning of every ability. Imagine the one who came up with the concept itself. There's no better person who can define the abilities of that set than the person who made it. So that also played a key role as I just began to see this is what I'm beginning to see God has put in me. I can sing, I can speak, I can teach this and that, and so on and so forth. And all that over time built up and then brought, this, it's not like one leads necessarily to the other like a staircase. They just meet and come in along the way, but the foundation is just accepting yourself and realizing that you're valuable, whether you come from a poor family or a rich family, whether you are a big name like Dangote or a normal name like Muthanga. So I think once you get the right foundation, then the other things begin to fall into place. It's not always automatic. Being in the right environment helps, because if you are around people who can see good things in you and help you to bring them out, and even by just encouraging you and telling you you're a very good journalist or you're a very good author, try to write a bit more. They fan into flame the things they have noted in you that you may not have noticed that you're good at something. Maybe you were given a task and you did it, and they noticed the way you did that thing is exceptionally good, so they help you. So being in the right environment, having good friends, having mentors helps a lot to accelerate the process. So I'll stop there. You can realize I'm only a third way into the journey of my life and the decisions. I also made poor decisions, by the way. That did not sound like I was all perfect and all right. I made big mistakes. Like I confessed that if it were not for God's grace and mercy, I would not be who I am and where I am.
Talking about mentorship access, the challenge I think with many young people is access to mentorship, and these are around 3 generations. Let's speak of it generation-wise.
Yes.
You have the post-millennials, the millennials, and the Gen Zs. And most of we Gen Zs rely on the millennials for mentorship. But now it's really hard for a young person, and they usually say it's really hard for a young person to convince the millennial. You might do something, but that person may not recognize it. And there's where people give up. They say, Okay, let life be the way it is. How can the society now help young people in identifying themselves? Because we realize even young people, since we battle with the identity thing, someone even has a name that is not his. And I'm not saying Dangote is my name. But you'll meet someone,
Yes.
someone was called John, okay, let me say, someone was called Dehan Esbon.
Yes.
Then he changes his name to Young Thug,
Yes.
trying to identify himself with another person.
Yes.
Now, how can the millennials and the society help these young people in accepting, yes, this is who I am, this is how I am. Now, what do I do to make sure that even me as a person, I have a legacy? There is a conviction in me that I need to leave a legacy.
Wow, that's quite something. I think one thing with our society today, to which I am right at the center of, is we have become very busy and very distracted. Busy, I think it's just the trends and the advances in life. Maybe now with advancement of technology, possibilities of working and hustling and side hustling are minimal.
Yeah.
Exposure to, today we talk about the global village, and this is because again of technological advancement. To experience what is happening in China, in Germany, in America now, I just need my phone or just some gadget, and through the internet I can see what people all over the world are doing at a very personal level through social media, maybe at a more, I don't know whether it's a global level through YouTube, where you're watching all manner of videos and content. And that may have also influenced how we do our things, exposure to the different cultures and different lifestyles. So we are chasing after big things, and that's just a small portion among many other reasons why we have become very busy, very occupied, very distracted. A lot of entertainment. When I was growing up, we had only KBC. I think KBC and KTN. First, mimi wa kitambo nilipata ikiwa VOK. VOK ni hata mjini nini.
Voice of Kenya.
Because you are a journalist, that's why you know. So entertainment was quite limited. TV ilikuwa inafunguliwa at first saa 10. Ukifungua TV before kulikuwa na hizo lines. And then at 4 is when they would sing the national anthem, open the TV station, programming up to midnight, and they would end with prayers, Christian prayers, Muslim prayers, and I think something there. Then the TV would go into the lines again. So there was
literally you are meaning from midnight to 4 p.m.
Yes.
There is nothing
on air.
How do you guys get information?
So then, from the 4 p.m. to midnight thing, so you listen to the news at 7. I don't know whether there was news before 7. I think news at 7, news at 9, and that's all. And there was no internet for your information.
How old were you?
Well, from birth all the way up to, I know at some point, I do not remember the exact timings. At some point, it came forward to around noon 1 p.m., around there. Then, so from 4 p.m. to noon, there. So KTN and VOK, which then became KBC. So in essence, the point is there was very limited access to information, to entertainment, and therefore, what was positive about it, what was negative is there was little access to information, like you're asking. What was good is people had more time for one another, for interpersonal relationships. We would sit, talk, go play, and therefore, I would almost say naturally, the older generation kind of mentored the younger, naturally, almost naturally, by spending time with them. And in essence, if I have some values, then I will very easily transfer them as we talk, as we share experiences and so on. Now, because of what is happening, then people are more isolated. We have a lot of friends, a good chunk of them are virtual. Therefore, then the mentorship structures that were there are not functioning anymore, because having time to talk, even just natural conversations, not planned, not structured, just meeting for tea or inviting people to come over or wherever, and just talking is not happening as much. So I think then it has to be deliberate. very deliberate, because the distractions are a reality, the being very busy is a reality. Then we have to be aware of the need and very, very intentionally create time, opportunity, spaces where the older generation can interact with the younger generation and pass on the values and pass on the wisdom, the experiences we have, the mistakes we have made, and help you guys not have to make all the mistakes we have made to be where we are. You know, you can build on our experiences and avoid a good number of them. So I think it has to be two things: awareness that there is the need, there is the gap that is there, because you can get lost in your world and never really realize that there's a big gap in the generations in terms of mentorship. And then very intentionally create forums, programs at a personal level, at corporate levels like the church, even in institutions like universities, have good mentorship programs that will help.
You just spoke of back in the days, some, I can say less than 6 hours, whereby there was no that time maybe to watch a TV. And over the years, over the centuries, right now, technology has gone now to even a watch.
Yes.
And the Bible says that Jesus grew in stature, in favor with God, in favor with man. Now, most of people in this era interact online, and they even don't know those people, or you have never even met with them. Do you think that social media, instead of making the world a global village of interaction, it has now made it a very, very, I can say, scarce world, whereby now you are confined in your own skin, that you have no one to shed something into you? And do you also think that social media has molded the young people into taking identities that are, because if you go to social media, okay, I think I'm between 20, still below 25 years old, and then you meet a 20-year-old boy on social media who has made it, then now the young people now trying to take another. Do you think social media is an issue?
It's a big issue, no question about it. It's not all negative. There's a lot of good that it has brought, but we also have to be aware of the dangers it presents. If we are to, maybe if I'm to talk into the issue of identity, worth, and what you've just mentioned, I go online, even at my age, and look at someone who is my age. And the things they own, the things they are doing, you almost feel depressed. You feel like
you're in the wrong place.
You're a failure.
And literally, when you meet them now, you're like, okay, we just joined campus with you.
Yes.
And especially someone brought trading, though I was on a research, I realized trading began a long time ago.
Yes.
But it was for the banks back then. Then someone tells you, I make $1,000 in a day, and 1,000, that's around 120 something thousand.
Yes.
And it's your age mate.
Yes.
And then you feel like, hey God, I'm in the wrong place.
Yeah. So the danger is, if you have not yet had a good foundation laid of your own identity, and realizing that you're valuable, and that you have your own course of life that is very unique to you, will never compare to anyone else. Of course, we can learn from each other and so on, but all of us are on a very unique course in life. Then, and which I would say, unfortunately, a good number of young people don't have that grounding, that good foundation, because when you have that, it becomes harder to get destabilized by what you see. Of course, the pressure will still be there.
Yeah.
But if, like we said, you have inner strength, you're able to balance it off and just realize, okay, well, I really admire what they're doing and the exposure they've had, but I'm on my own course of life and I'm doing my best. Well, I can still learn today, I can still improve, I can still make progress, but I will not let it make me look down on myself.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, many are not. So you get swayed, you go online and you get depressed. You go online and you feel like a failure. And a good percentage also, I think the one you touched on is the real deal, but a good percentage of what is there is also not very authentic, because people are presenting their best moments. People are presenting what we would say their best foot forward and making it look like it is their ordinary life. Okay, so I go to a hotel, I'm sitting on those fine couches, I take photos, and another day I'm somewhere else, and then I'm posting them, and you think that is the everyday of my life. While that happens once in a year.
But someone said fake it until you make it.
No, not in that way. So what I'm saying, well, there is some truth in that. It's where you're so focused on where you want to go, and you begin to talk like it and to think like it, and in whatever way to behave like it until you finally become. So, like for example, I'm not yet a doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a PhD yet. Many people call me doctor. Okay, so in a way you can say faking it until I don't use that title at all officially because I know I'm not yet there. I don't refer to myself as doctor, but if I can try to think like one, act like one, teach like one until I become. Of course, there is now, I don't know whether we'll get there today, setting a vision and the goals, because vision is the big picture, the goals are the steps that will help you get to the big picture.
Yeah, and literally someone said that your mind usually tries to work to give you what you're fed it. So yes. When, for instance, when I was a kid,
yes.
Okay, though my dad never wanted me to be a journalist,
yes.
But when I was a kid, in standard, I started journalism in standard 5, and they used to say,
"Oh,
I'm a citizen TV journalist." And then someone asked me, "But they wish on a citizen na hire watu." And literally, it's true. It's true. Citizen rarely hires people.
Yes.
Mtu akitoka, Rubadiri ametoka juzi, then they have gone to poach someone because it's a big company.
Yes.
But since I was in standard 6, you know what? I'm a journalist.
Yes.
So literally,
yes,
it's implanted in myself that even everything I do,
yeah,
I see it in a journalistic angle.
Yes, yes.
But
so in that way, you see, that's positive. That's to where you have a vision. You know, like I always wanted to become a pilot. Well, my story is not like yours. You are actually becoming. You are and are becoming a better journalist every day. And I believe you're going to make it big. I always wanted to become a pilot, and I would very many times rehearse that this is your captain, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome. Welcome to KQ 5443. We'll be cruising to Karlsruhe in Germany. Our cruising altitude is 34,000 feet above sea level.
Look, you're still young. You can go and do this.
Yes, yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
still possible. Whether I'll go, that's another story. But you know, that's the good side of. No, it's not really. Again, talking about identity, it's not taking a fake identity. It's just embracing where you're going so much. You behave like it, you talk like it, and work it out until you become. So that's positive. Okay. But the other one of presenting, it's like a mask. What you're presenting on social media and who you truly are and what your life is not real. And many young people are getting very depressed because of seeing like all the other people are happy and enjoying life, and their life is so ordinary and boring. While the truth is, pretty much everybody out there is experiencing the same highs, lows. Of course, some people are more well off than others, but then we have to limit what we are interacting with, because if we allow ourselves to be totally exposed, then the dangers will have a toll on us. For me, I wouldn't allow a teenager to go full throttle, have their own gadgets and do whatever they want, because they may not know how to restrain themselves. They may not know the pitfalls that I already know about are out there in the internet and the social media. So they can get bullied, they can get tormented, so for parents it would be like restricting and kind of supervising and helping them navigate through that until they are adult enough to be able to know what they are doing and so on. So social media is good. It has its advantages. It has its major pitfalls that we really need to watch out on, because yes, they can really be deep.
Now, as we end this,
yes,
you are in an institution. When people come in the first year, really innocent, well dressed, someone looks now decent. Yes. You can address them how they are dressed.
Yes.
Along the way, comes a new dress code with them.
Yes.
Goes on.
Yes.
Comes the sponsors. And okay, all this is culminated together because we want to live a certain kind of life that is not. Maybe as a lecturer, and how do I say it? As a person who sits even with the church board, do you think the government should come up with policies that regulate the amount of authenticity on social media? Because it has made young people commit suicide. It has made young people give up. Like if you check, yes, it has its positives, but I can say the negatives are so many and catastrophic than the positives. Do you think the government, and if the government is to do that, how? As a person, if you are the president.
If I were the president.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think that is very difficult to address at the government level in that way, in terms of putting restrictions or filters, maybe to extreme things, things like anyone propagating terrorism, suicide trends. Like there were these very dangerous games that were being played on social media. Like you remember them, like putting a coin or what else. They were doing very weird things, or making someone jump up when you sweep their feet and they hit their feet.
I remember there is a game where they used to remove a chair.
Yes.
And then we literally played it in school, and one of us ended up in a hospital because of the game.
Yes. So there were those things the government can try its best to filter out because they are really, really toxic. But the bigger responsibility lies more at the family level, at the community level. That's where we can really try to curb, control, and make it right as much as possible. So what I would do as the president is probably fund awareness campaigns, to parents, to schools, to churches, to mosques, to just first educate the parents, the guardians, the teachers, so that they are able then to be informed on what they should do to those under them to protect them from the dangers of social media and the internet, generally speaking. So it would be very hard at the government level, 40+ million people, to regulate authenticity. How do you even start? But if you can create awareness campaigns, run adverts on TV, on internet, on YouTube and all other places where you can get the young people, then you will bring them to the awareness. There are these pitfalls and we need to watch them out.
Now, the topic on identity and self-worth is a very huge topic because, and it can't end in one conversation. And I think churches, schools, and organizations should have seminars, conferences where young people can come and interact with the older people. For instance, we had the ambassador in Pwani, and there is a part of her story that yes, you see, when it comes to you as a person, you learn something from that story. Now, what is your last advice to so many people out here who are struggling with their self-worth and their identity?
My message to them would be, God created us with a very special purpose and with a lot of love. And like we said earlier, He put in us a lot of value, a lot of ability, a lot of gifts. And like I said, the primary way we can just begin that journey of realizing how valuable, how precious we are, and the values in us is to seek Him, is to come close to Him and walk with Him and let Him tell us who we are, because we come from Him. He's the best person to tell you who you truly are and what you can. And that way we begin the journey of realizing our self-worth. And that also helps us cast a vision in life, because once you value yourself and you know the potential that you have, then it just follows that you can have a vision of what you want to achieve in life, and that again should be informed by the purpose that God has revealed to you. There's a verse in Proverbs that says, where there is no vision, people cast off restraint. When we don't have a vision, when we don't value ourselves, we tend to be reckless. But when we have a vision, that we have a purpose and there's something special that God wants us to achieve in life, then we are able to have the vision, have goals, be disciplined, and then finally achieve great things in life. So it all begins with coming close to our Maker, and once we are in His hands, everything begins to fall into place.
Thank you very much, and I want to appreciate Sir Alex Muthanga, our pilot, that I've said you need to go and that voice, how you have just spoke.
Yes.
You've spoken like Jeff Koinange when he was doing in an airline. Go and listen to that. So I really want to appreciate you for coming.
Thank you.
This video you can share with your sisters, your brothers, your family members, your friends, so that there are points that have been shared that are really key. If you take them into play, you will at least reduce the magnitude of battling with certain things in the society with, let's say, a 2 or 5% to 10% reduce. My name is Mwavali Derrick. This has been the King's Launch, and this is the edition of the King's Launch that we say it's a converso with the Mwavali. And I don't know, but the conversation can continue in the comment section. How have you as a person been able to get self-worth and also to identify yourself? And yes, it comes with so many things, but it all, as he has said, it all begins with God. Till we meet again, just remember to keep it the Sphere Arena, and I don't think I have any other bills to pay, so see you again next week.